Hey, what's up you guys, it's Connor, and today I'm going to be doing a book review for My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry by Fredrik Backman. I did receive this book in exchange for an honest review through BookTube tour, so I will leave a link down in the description to all of the links for everything that has to do with BookTube tours. I'll leave a link to Grace from Lovenden Books channel, as well as her blog, and all of the things that you need to know about the tour. I will also leave a link to the giveaway that is down below, so if you are curious about owning this book and reading it for yourself, you can go and enter that giveaway. This book follows a 7-year-old girl who doesn't really have any friends in school, and she's actually considered very different, and little kids, as you guys know, end up picking on children that are different. And so really her only friend that she's ever had in her entire life is her grandmother, and she is super close to her granny. To make her feel better, her granny tells her stories about the kingdom of miasmas, which is a place in between being awake and falling asleep, where everybody is different and nobody needs to be normal. But soon into the book, her grandmother ends up passing away, and so Elsa is left by herself with one last adventure that her grandmother has devised for her. And so it just follows her on her journey with this last task that her grandmother has given to her. So as usual with my book reviews, I'm going to go through my pros and then my cons and then give you my rating and be done. My first and foremost pro for this book is going to be Granny, the grandmother. She's cantankerous and crazy and totally chaotic, but she also has a heart of gold, and she is a fiercely loving grandmother, and she is completely loyal and devotes all of her time and affection towards Elsa. The relationship between Elsa and her granny actually reminds me of my relationship with my grandfather. I used to be super close to my grandfather. I used to stay with him all the time, and so just seeing how they interact really reminded me of how I used to interact with my grandfather. And this book actually made me realize how much I miss spending time with him. Now he doesn't really remember who I am whenever I see him, so it's a little bit like that relationship is now changed completely, but this book brought me back into that mind state of when I was a kid and how I felt so close to him and how important he was to me. I don't think that most people have grandmothers that are like the granny in this book because she is so extreme, but I think that everyone that reads this book can identify parts of their own grandparents in the character of Granny. There's someone in your life that you are going to be able to pull things from Granny's personality and say, oh my gosh, I remember this happening with this person in my family. I really liked drawing those connections between this story and my own life, and being able to relate to the character Elsa in this story when it comes to loving her grandmother that much. That unbreakable bond with someone that you are super close with. Next is Elsa. The main character is super smart for a 7-year-old, and I've actually seen in other people's reviews how that is a con for them, is that they don't believe that she's a 7-year-old when she's speaking, and that's addressed in the book, and it's something that makes her way different, and that's why she's kind of ostracized by the other people in her class, is that she has this higher level of diction that the people in her grade don't have, and so it makes her different. And that's the main theme about the book, is that it's okay to be different, and you can be different in all these different ways, and that is okay. I don't think that that is a con for me, because in other ways Elsa does really come across as a 7-year-old. Her obsession with the fantasies and the little fairy tales that her grandmother tells her about the kingdom of miasmas, it's really what a little kid would do, to latch on to those stories and believe in all of these stories that her grandmother has told her and apply them to her own life. She also has a very childlike way of going about telling the story, and if you guys know little kids, they like to tell the same things over and over and over again, and so you get some of these things that are repeated over and over again within the story. And so Elsa will describe something and then describe it again slightly different later on in the book, and so those areas can slow it down a little bit, but I didn't mind because that is how a 7-year-old would be. They tell you the same stories over and over with the same amount of enthusiasm, and that is exactly how a 7-year-old is. I will say, however, that this book is not a children's book. It has a lot of things that you have to be able to make connections in your mind, and there is also a fair amount of curse words in here. I didn't know that some of these were curse words, but apparently they are, because they keep saying that they are. Just with Elsa and really every other character, they're also flawed and believable and real. And all the characters that are in the book come from different backgrounds, and so I really enjoyed meeting all the different characters and seeing how they were different and seeing how they were flawed and how those things were okay. My next pro is going to be that the actual plot of the story was really interesting to me. I really like when a story has all these different plot lines or these different character backstories or anything like that that intertwine together as the story goes along, and the more intertwining that they do, the better the story is for me. Like, for instance, I really liked A Visit from the Goon Squad by Jennifer Egan, and that's a story where all of the different characters end up being connected in some ways, and you just read from different perspectives. This is all from one perspective, but you get all of these different storylines that all end up weaving together, and I really, really enjoyed that. It's not the fastest paced book ever, which you guys know that I really liked fast paced books, but this is so character driven that it really made up for it not being the fastest book on the planet. I really, really enjoyed learning about these characters and growing with them and living with all of these characters really for the course of the novel, which I think takes place over like, I don't know, 8 months or so, something like that. Now on to my cons. Really, I was having a hard time thinking about things that I didn't really enjoy about this book. The only one I could really come up with was at the very beginning of the story. I felt like there was a lot of things that were trying to pull me in. I could feel them trying to make me relate to Elsa and trying to make me love the references that were happening in the book. I felt like there was a lot of references at the very beginning, and so it actually pushed me away from the story a little bit because I was like, I see what you're trying to do and I'm not buying it. But then as the story went on, those references became less frequent and I appreciated them a lot more. I ended up actually absolutely loving the references, so that con kind of turned into a pro as the book went on, but at the very beginning it definitely kept me from getting into the story straight away. For instance, Elsa is obsessed with Harry Potter. She wears a Gryffindor scarf all the time. Obviously the person that did the cover of the book doesn't know what a Gryffindor scarf looks like, but she wears a Gryffindor scarf and she talks about Harry Potter all the time. If you've read Harry Potter, you will appreciate this book so much more because of the different things that they talk about and the different Harry Potter things that they talk about in this book. It's mentioned all the time. And those references just being piled at the very beginning is really my only complaint. Like, I had nothing else to complain about. I forgot to mention, however, that this book is actually written in Swedish and then it was translated by Henning Kosh. I think that's how you say the translator's name. And he did a really, really fantastic job of translating the book from Swedish to English. Overall, I absolutely loved this book. I'll leave a link down in the description to the Goodreads and Amazon pages that you can check out this book more if you'd like to. There's actually a book that comes out this year, or I think it just came out this year, that follows a different character in this story, and I think it follows that character after this book is over, so I'm really excited to get into that book and see what that one's about. And then I also want to read everything that he's written because I really, really enjoyed his style of writing and the way that he formed his characters. I ended up giving this book 5 stars, obviously. I didn't have any complaints and I absolutely loved everything, so yeah, 5 stars. So that's going to be my review on My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry. Got it right by Fredrik Backman. Again, all the links will be down below, and if you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.